17-year-old Mark was working part-time at Walmart in Arkansas when he noticed a man struggling with his bags in the parking lot. The man, casually dressed in a polo shirt and jeans, was none other than Elon Musk. Without a second thought, Mark rushed to assist him, neglecting his post for a few minutes. The store manager, prioritizing protocol over compassion, didn't see it that way and decided Mark's act of kindness was grounds for immediate dismissal. But the very next day, an unexpected visitor at Mark's door, none other than Elon Musk, would turn his life upside down. It was a Friday afternoon, around 3 p.m., and Mark had just started his shift at Walmart. The sun hung high in the sky, casting a warm glow over the parking lot, but Mark barely noticed. He was too busy organizing carts near the entrance when something caught his attention. A man, casually dressed in a polo shirt and jeans, struggling to load groceries into the trunk of his car. Mark didn't hesitate. He abandoned the carts and jogged over, driven by instinct more than anything else. "Let me help you with that," Mark said, offering a reassuring smile. The man hesitated for a moment before nodding. Mark quickly grabbed the bags and placed them in the trunk with care, chatting casually as he worked. To Mark, this was just another act of kindness. What he didn't realize was that the man he was helping was Elon Musk. Dressed inconspicuously, Elon blended in perfectly with the crowd. By the time Mark was done, Elon extended a hand, holding a crisp bill. "Thanks, young man. This means a lot." Mark waved it off. "No need, sir. Just glad I could help." He turned back toward the store, feeling good about his small gesture, but his moment of satisfaction was cut short. His manager, Josephine, had been watching the scene unfold from the store's front doors, her arms crossed and a scowl on her face. Even with the fact that Mark was helping someone in need, Josephine wasn't interested in hearing his side of the story. "I'm going to have to let you go, Mark," Josephine said flatly, her decision final. Mark's heart dropped. Fired? For doing the right thing? The words didn't make sense, and he found himself almost speechless. "But I was just—" "No more excuses," Josephine interrupted. "You're done here." As Mark packed up his things and left the store, his thoughts were clouded. He couldn't believe it. Fired for helping someone. His co-workers, including his friend Lillian, expressed disbelief, but there was nothing they could do. "What a jerk," Lillian muttered, giving Mark a hug. "You'll find something better." Despite Lillian's words, Mark couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Why had he been punished for something so simple, something so good? As he left Walmart, he wasn't sure what to do next. His pride was bruised, and his head was spinning. How could he explain this to his parents? They had always been proud of him for getting the job in the first place. When he walked through the door at home, his mother was the first to notice. "You're home early," she said, her voice filled with surprise. Mark's disappointment must have shown on his face, because his mother's smile faded. "What's wrong?" she asked, walking over to him. He sighed and hugged her. "I got fired," he muttered, avoiding eye contact. "I helped someone, and the manager didn't like it." His mother's face hardened. "What do you mean? Helped someone?" Mark explained, his voice shaky, about how he had helped the man in the parking lot, how the man was struggling, and how he'd only wanted to make sure the man was okay. His mother was furious. "I'm going to call that store and talk to the owner," she said, reaching for the phone, but Mark stopped her. "No, Mom. Let it go. I don't want to make it worse." Instead, he retreated to his room, lying on his bed and staring at the ceiling. The hours seemed to stretch on forever as he tried to figure out what to do next. The disappointment felt heavy. He'd wanted to prove he could do things on his own, and now everything seemed to be falling apart. At dinner, his dad tried to lift the mood. "I spoke with a friend of mine today," he said, glancing at Mark. "He owns a garage, and he said he might have some work for you if you're interested." Mark appreciated the effort, but he wanted a job he could call own, not one his parents lobbied for him. Not to sound ungrateful, he thanked his dad and promised to think about it. His father patted his hand across the table, understanding that Mark needed time to process everything. They ate in silence, the air thick with unspoken thoughts. The following morning, as Mark tried to shake off the haze of disappointment, An unexpected visitor arrived at his door. The insistent ringing of the doorbell snapped him out of his thoughts. He wasn't expecting anyone. Who could it be? Mark rushed to the door, still groggy from sleep, his heart racing. As he opened it, he squinted against the bright morning light, not expecting what he saw. A large black car was parked outside, and standing in front of it was a man, tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a dark suit and wearing sunglasses. He looked like he was straight out of a movie. "Are you Mark?" the man asked, in a deep, serious tone. Mark blinked, still trying to make sense of the situation. Yeah, who are you?" The man didn't answer the question. "You need to come with me," he said, turning towards the car without waiting for a response. Mark stood frozen for a moment, uncertainty flooding his mind. What was happening? Why was this man at his door? What did he want? But as the man's intimidating figure moved toward the car, Mark felt something shift inside him. It was as if there was no room to refuse, no way out of this. He followed the man to the sleek black car. The passenger door opened, and Mark hesitated, glancing back at his house, but his gut told him this was something he couldn't avoid. The man in the suit wasn't offering any choice. Mark slid into the car, and as soon as he did, the door slammed shut, locks clicking in place. The windows were tinted so dark that Mark could barely see out. The car was luxurious, but the presence of the two men in the front seat made it feel anything but comforting. His stomach churned as the car pulled away from the curb. His thoughts raced, but he was too nervous to speak. After a few minutes of silence, Mark couldn't take it anymore. "Where are we going?" he asked, his voice shaky. The man in the passenger seat glanced at him in the rearview mirror, but didn't respond. Mark felt the tension building. He tried again. "Why are you here? What do you want with me?" Still, the man didn't speak. Mark glanced at the other man, the driver, who had his eyes fixed on the road ahead. The silence was suffocating, broken only by the hum of the car's engine. Where were they taking him? What was going on? After what felt like hours, the car finally slowed, the tires crunching on gravel. Mark's stomach twisted as they veered off the main road and onto a less traveled path. The scenery changed, from the familiar streets of his neighborhood to the unfamiliar, desolate road ahead. "We'll be there soon," the man in the front seat said dismissively, offering nothing more. Mark slumped back in his seat, feeling more isolated than ever. There was no turning back now. He was caught in the middle of something he didn't understand, something he couldn't escape. And then, just when it seemed like the situation couldn't get more bizarre, a crackling voice came over the car's speaker system. "Have you succeeded?" the voice asked, cold and authoritative. The man in the passenger seat glanced at a device on the dashboard before answering, "Yes, he's with us now." Mark's heart skipped a beat as the voice confirmed what he feared. They were after him, but why? What had he done to deserve this? The man in the passenger seat nodded, signaling that the conversation was over. The car continued down the dark, winding road, and Mark had no idea where this strange journey would take him. All he could do now was wait, the uncertainty gnawing at him. He had no choice but to follow wherever this path led. As the car pulled to a stop, Mark's unease only grew. They had arrived at what looked like a private harbor. A sleek, modern boat rocked gently at the edge of the dock, its engine humming softly. The moonlight reflected off the calm water, casting an eerie glow over the scene. The driver stepped out first, gesturing for Mark to follow. "Why are we here?" Mark asked, his voice taut with anxiety. The driver didn't respond, but he opened the car door, motioning for Mark to step out. Mark hesitated, his grip tightening on the metal rod hidden beneath his jacket. But he eventually obeyed, his gaze fixed on the water, the vast expanse of ocean stretching out before him, offering no clues as to their destination. "This way," the driver said curtly, his tone making it clear that questions would go unanswered. Mark's steps were slow and measured as he followed the driver to the boat. The driver climbed aboard without hesitation, taking a seat near the helm, while another man, presumably the captain, fired up the engine. Mark's pulse quickened as the boat pulled away from the dock, the coastline shrinking behind them. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the rhythmic thrum of the engine and the lapping of waves against the hull. He glanced at the driver, who sat as impassive as ever, his sunglasses glinting in the moonlight. "Where are we going?" Mark asked, his voice louder now, tinged with desperation. The driver ignored him. Mark's thoughts raced. He wasn't some hero, he didn't know how to fight, and he wasn't sure he could defend himself if things took a turn. The rod tucked under his jacket felt heavier than ever, a reminder of both his fear and his dwindling options. After what felt like hours on the water, a small island appeared on the horizon, its jagged cliffs rising like sentinels from the sea. Mark's stomach churned as they approached. The island looked desolate, the kind of place where secrets were buried and forgotten. The boat slowed as it neared the dock, the captain expertly maneuvering it alongside the wooden planks. Mark spotted a lone house and a large shed nestled within the dense greenery. The air was still, too still, as if the island itself were holding its breath. "Get off," the driver instructed, his voice devoid of emotion. Mark hesitated, his feet feeling like they were rooted to the boat's deck, but the driver's unwavering gaze left him little choice. Taking a deep breath, Mark stepped off the boat, his pulse hammering in his ears. The driver followed, his imposing figure casting a long shadow under the pale moonlight. The boat was already pulling away, its engine fading into the distance. Mark felt a pang of panic as he realized there was no way back now. "Where are we?" Mark demanded, his voice shaky but determined. "Follow me," the driver said, without looking back. Mark's frustration boiled over. "You've been dragging me around all day. I deserve answers." The driver paused, turning his head slightly. "You'll get your answers. In time." Mark bit back a retort, knowing it would be futile. He tightened his grip on the rod, hidden beneath his jacket, and followed the driver toward the house. The silence was maddening, broken only by the sound of their footsteps on the wooden dock. Then, just as they neared the house, a voice called out from behind. "Mark!" The single word froze him in place. It was a voice he recognized, one he had never expected to hear again. He spun around, his heart pounding, and there he was, Elon Musk. The man he had helped just days ago stood at the edge of the dock, leaning on a crutch. But this was not the frail, unassuming figure he remembered. This was Elon Musk, one of the most powerful men in the world, and he was looking directly at Mark. "You didn't think I'd forget about your help, did you?" Elon said, a faint smile playing on his lips. Mark's mind reeled. "But how? Why?" Elon's expression softened. "You didn't know it at the time," he said, his tone calm and measured, "but I've been watching. That day at the store, when you helped me with those bags, I wasn't just some random guy. I had a plan in motion, and you became part of it the moment you showed kindness." Mark's confusion only deepened. "A plan? What kind of plan?" Elon's smile faded, replaced by a more serious expression. "A plan to offer you something bigger than you could imagine. A second chance, but only if you can make it through what's coming next." Mark's stomach turned. "What's coming next? What do you want from me?" Elon gestured toward the house. "Come inside. We have much to discuss." Mark hesitated, his instincts screaming at him to run, but the boat was gone, and the driver was blocking his only other route. He had no choice. As he stepped into the house, Mark's breath caught. The interior was sparse, almost clinical, yet undeniably sophisticated. Walls were adorned with technological gadgets and screens displaying streams of data, images of people, and maps of the world. "What is this place?" Mark asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Elon didn't answer immediately. He moved to one of the screens and tapped a few buttons, bringing up a glowing map of the globe. "This is the world I'm building, Mark," he said, his tone full of purpose. "And you're going to help me shape it." Mark blinked. "Help you? How? I don't even know what's going on here." Elon turned to face him, his gaze intense. "I've seen something in you, something rare. You help people without expecting anything in return. You don't back down when it matters. That's why I brought you here." He paused, letting his words sink in. "This is your chance to be part of something extraordinary, to change the world." Mark's thoughts swirled. Fired from Walmart for helping someone, now standing before Elon Musk, being told he could change the world. It sounded absurd. "But why me?" he asked. Elon's expression softened. "Because you see the truth. In a world where most people look the other way, you act. That's what we need. It won't be easy, but you're capable." Mark's heart pounded. His whole life had been a series of small, insignificant moments, and now he was being offered a chance to matter. What do I need to do? Elon smiled, a glint of approval in his eyes. You'll learn everything you need to know. Together, we'll build something massive. And just like that, Mark's life changed forever. And as the first day of his new life began, Mark knew that he would never look back. Do you think Mark could have envisaged his life changing in less than 24 hours? We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment below. Thanks for watching. We will see you in the next video.